Well, I think it's the 11th today. It's Friday. Like I said, with the new place I'm at, they do things a little differently, but like I said, I have a video. It's hold on a second. That's the commuter rail. It's the only train in town. It's not like the normal ones from Boston. That one just goes longer distances faster. But our house is about like 3 blocks away from the actual tracks, so I never hear it. The house is set back from the main street, so there's not a lot of noise at all. I'm still trying to get a job. I just went to Cumberland Farms. I gave her my name and phone number. I talked to the manager. Hopefully she'll get back to me soon. Because basically a couple days ago, Wednesday, I went to the store. It was 89 degrees that day, super humid. So I thought I needed to get cigarettes. So I went in the liquor store. I got my cigarettes, and then I was like, yeah, can you just toss on 3 nips? So as soon as I took the first nip, I just felt, I didn't feel buzzed, I felt like just off. So I finished the second one, and then I'm like, fine, I'll just do 3 more, and then we'll call it. And this is only around like 5 p.m. So I get those, and then I have this idea of going to the pond. Then I made the video. I checked in with a gym or something. Got some chicken Caesar salad. I ate that. It's on video. But now it's already like, now I'm already 10 in. So all I wanted to do at the end of the night was just get something to eat. Maybe have like a beer, call it a night. So I wasted a bunch of money and went to Providence. Nothing was open. Nope, nobody was serving any food. So I ended up wasting money to get back. And then I was just way too, like, I was just in a bad mood because it was so hot out. So I was just kind of talking out loud. So everyone assumed that I was drinking. So the next afternoon, the owner calls and, you know, I just tell him straight up, you know, I drank last night a little bit too much at the restaurant. And then he's like, okay, you need to go into a detox for at least 3 days. And I'm like, well, it's already been 12 hours since my last drink, so I'm not really going to be detoxing from anything. He says, well, the policy goes that you have to go to a detox for at least 3 days if you relapse. And if it happens the second time, you can't be there anymore. I'm like, okay, so I'll call the detox units. And I called a bunch, but you have to call like 7 to 8 o'clock in the morning. So it was already too late. I couldn't get any beds. So then I finally called at 5 p.m. She said, you know, call tomorrow, whatever. So I called this morning. We started doing the intake. And then she says, when was your last drink? And I had a single nip yesterday because I was the one left over, but it was around 7 p.m. The last time I got drunk was, like I said, probably about 12 o'clock. 12 a.m. What was it, Thursday? So she said, and before that, I'm like, before that was Saturday. I had 2 beers. That's it. So she basically said, well, by the way it looks, you only drink a couple times a week, so we can't take you into the detox. And I'm like, so I told her, I'm like, well, if I wasn't at the sober house and if I was by myself, like at a hotel or something, I'd be drinking 10 nips per day every single day. And she says, well, that's not what is, that's what could be. I'm like, okay, fine. I need to be in a detox because otherwise I'll drink every day, all day. So she said, okay, fine, we'll go with that. Then she looked it up in the system for the last time I was there, and I was only there for 3 days last time. So she says, you're restricted because you're better off at a dual diagnosis. We can't take you in. So I'm like, oh, okay, I'm restricted from going to whatever. So I called the owner back and he says, just try the emergency room, have them try to hold you for 24 hours for a mental and medical evaluation. And I'm like, I've already tried that before. So I'm like, fine, I'll just go to the hospital and they can call you and tell you that they're not going to hold me for 24 hours, let alone 2 hours. So I went there. I told them everything. I can't. He was saying lie. And I'm like, if I were to lie about it, then show up to the facility, like the detox, they would test me, notice that I had no alcohol in my system, and they would reject me. The whole point of a detox is to detox from something, and if there was nothing in me that I couldn't detox. So, emergency room, they did the blood test, negative. There was nothing in my system. They're like, okay, so they called him, he called back and said, fine, because the hospital verified that you don't have anything and you were doing what I was saying, then you can come back, but next time, can't. So I'm like, because this exact thing happened last year, I think it was the exact same month and day and all this other stuff, but 2 years ago in Boston, same thing happened. He said you had to go to a detox for 3 days. I called him. He said you have to lie about it. And I'm like, if I lie about it, they're going to find out the truth as soon as I get there and then deny me still. So the same exact thing happened 2 years later. And so I'm like, there's a loophole. There's a huge loophole. So right now, I brought the hatchet, I brought chicken salad, a couple of mayonnaise packets, I got my coffee, and I got a can of water. This weird ass trail really just goes into the middle of nowhere, and I know it keeps going. It's a deer trail. So if I can hack through that one point, I can get to it. Oh, that's right, I have to switch to the other glasses. But it's funny as hell. I've been everywhere, different towns around this area. There's no mud, except for the quarries. Like if you remember watching the other videos, you'll notice that I had an infinite supply, infinite private locations. I could just make a spot anywhere. There was even a couple of them, I made this like sand mud pit, and it was just, I could do that. Around here, the rivers are too small. Basically, there's no possibility of flooding around here. There just isn't. There's hardly any ponds. But the dirt is, I've never seen dirt like this. It's not black, it's not brown, and it's not gray. It's like a orange reddish dirt. And the problem with that is consistency mixed with water. So it's not mixing with water, and it can't break down any more than it already has. Basically, this dirt is broken down to its last point. It's as small as it can possibly get, which is actually pretty big. So it just kind of settles and pushes away. So the water can't mix with the dirt at all. Versus in the Berkshires, you get a lot of cornfields, you get a lot of swamps, but mainly we were in a valley, so all the water comes down into the valley and then fills up the big Housatonic River, which then has little rivers that go into it. And even those rivers, but you had, the fields get tilled all the time. The rain pushes that dirt down. You have sand and rocks in all the water, but all the water you can see right down to the bottom. Around here, all the water's dark. And I've noticed, I went on a trail yesterday, actually 2 trails, and anytime the water looks dark, or it looks like there's mud, you put your foot in it, and basically it's black leaves. So the leaves are decomposing, but extremely slow. So the water, as of what someone else told me, it has extreme amount of fluoride in it. And I think with the amount of fluoride is blocking the decomposition of organic matter to create the dirt that mixes with the water. The organic matter like leaves, grass, branches, sticks, anything else I think this is the right one. Cannot break down. It's blocking it. So, yeah. And the water's not even clear, so you don't even know what the hell's in it. But if you, yeah, this isn't even a designated trail or anything. It comes out, kind of ends right there. There's like an access point, I guess, for the phone wire. So if I head this way, it goes back to the river. But it's way too thick. I don't want to have to go through that brush. If I go on this way, it's just this random ass trail that goes nowhere. So I only walked a little bit. Right here, there's another trail that kind of splits off. Again, goes nowhere. If I always get to the certain spot, I go all the way down to the end, and it kind of just loops around, and then you have to walk back. And I've seen these almost everywhere I go. Every trail that I go on, they're loop trails. I'm used to, like I said, the Berkshires. You follow a trail, it goes to like crazy amounts of stuff, and then it ends up like by a road or something. This is pretty much the only open spot with a lot of sun. But other than that, it's freaking weird. And also the fact, because of COVID last year, all these spots are grown in. So the parking lots are way overgrown. They're not maintaining anything. Like I said yesterday, I walked all the way down this certain road. You have to follow this ballpark. And I knew there was a trail behind the ballpark, but the ballpark is all fenced up all the way around. So I walked down the street a little bit. When I came back, I noticed there was a fire hydrant and there was an opening for a trail. So I followed this trail. There's markings. Keeps saying, to Beach Point, to Beach Point. So finally I get to this where it seems like it's going to go somewhere, and it does this. So I start walking around. I'm like, oh, okay, it's going to, it's going to turn and go somewhere. And then I'm like, wait. And then I end up back over there. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. So I did this last week, and that's the deer trail. It's not even marked at all. You have to go through like kind of thick brush. And then it leads to a certain spot. It gets to like a swampish area, but nothing that I went past, so. And then after after I noticed the other trail led nowhere. After I noticed the other trail didn't go anywhere, I walked even more south to a set of wildlife reservation. Same thing, there was like this pond, the area of a house. It was super small. You couldn't see anything because everything's overgrown. The river is basically this stream that goes nowhere. All these bridges and stuff. There's nothing. I don't know why the hell they call it a wildlife preservation, reservation, whatever, because there's everything's so grown in you can't see anything. There's not like animals or like a zoo or something. Then I saw that there was a field, there was another field, and you just loop back around. So I'm like, but there's nothing here. There's nothing here. Like, if you're gonna walk on a trail, you want it like scenery or something. What scenery? Like I said, because in the Berkshires, you'd walk on a trail and it would lead to a road. And then you walk on another trail and it would lead to a pond. You walk on another trail and it leads to a river. You walk on another trail, leads to the top of a mountain with an outlook of like miles beyond. And so, and I never see anybody on these trails, so what the hell are people doing? They're bored as hell, but they don't want to do anything. So I'm going to get the hatchet out and try to see how far I can go in there.